right, it's Tuesday. Typhoon is coming to Hong Kong, but before the typhoon, we have Andrew Work here.
Hey.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how you doing?
Other than the typhoon, is there any political storm that we should be aware of?
Well, we talked about it on yesterday's show. We talked about the big political ads to the anti-Occupy Central. They say they're a silent majority, but a typhoon's anything but quiet. And these guys are going to be blowing through the pages of our of our newspapers today, so people can run out. I'm going to run out and see what they've done after we do the show.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and for anybody else in the political scene that's going to be making some noise in the week coming up. Another kind of something a little bit more long-term thing that's going to be coming out, the midterm population report numbers are coming out today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and anybody who's interested in population, but population affects everything in Hong Kong. It affects the price of housing. It affects how many people we have applying for public housing flats. It affects real estate prices. It affects complaints about congestion in our transportation. All kinds of things. And for anybody who watches this, one of the things that's really been unusual is steady decline in the birth rate for years and years in Hong Kong. And the last 3 years, bam, it just shot right up. And of course it was all attributable to mainland births coming into Hong Kong. Now that's been stopped. We expect, go out and check the numbers, but we expect that to see a big drop in that today. But Hong Kong's population, from last year when we had this report, was increasing at about rate of about 0.9%. Right, almost 65,000 people, right, a year, which should be quite manageable for a city of our size. It's less than 1%. Strangely enough, the vast majority of it was actually through natural, deaths minus births minus deaths.
Yeah.
Only about almost 15,000 of that was inflow. That's a really small number for a place of Hong Kong size.
So
surprisingly, we don't have more immigrants.
So you mean that Hong Kong people themselves are actually giving more babies now as well?
Well,
in addition to the mainland,
I'm saying that what I'm saying is that the growth of Hong Kong, the vast majority of it is natural. We call it organic growth, meaning it is people here having kids, people living longer, which tends to stretch out the death rate, and more people being born here. So that number of births minus deaths gives you the growth, the natural growth. But immigration is a tiny part. We don't. People have this idea that we're taking in all kinds of new immigrants. Really.
It's a populist idea.
Well, yeah, it's a populist idea. But
it's a populist idea on population growth.
Yeah, that's it.
But the key point is actually there's a lot of organic growth. Especially people at around our age, they are giving birth to more babies for the past few years. I think ever since 2005, because the economy is getting better and better, and people can actually see the economy is back on track.
Yeah.
So they decided to have babies. So by 2006 and 2007, you can see a lot of population growth since then.
Local population.
Yeah, local population for the past 6 years. So I think that can also attribute to the economy as well. You see how scared I'm towards babies. Whenever you talk about babies,
things start flying, right?
Yeah.
Like the typhoon's already here in the truck.
I was so scared about babies.
But
but in addition to the myth that we are taking in all the immigrations and all that, what else should we look for in the midterm population report?
The population report, one of the things that people always want to look at is, kind of goes along with the census numbers and how long people are living. It's just kind of an overall indicator of health in Hong Kong and the aging of the population. I think that's going to be interesting because the aging of the population is going to be one of our biggest challenges. We share that with every developed economy in the world.
Yeah.
But Hong Kong is, always, top ranked with Japan for the oldest, the most longest lived people. So it's going to be particularly acute here.
But I think, Andrew, you're very insightful in citing or clarifying that for the past 5-6 years, Hong Kong population growth is basically natural and organic growth.
Yeah.
I think the key point or the key word for today is organic.
Yeah.
I think for an organic population growth, it might be easier for the Hong Kong government to plan various infrastructure facilities and services.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a lot of inflow population, it will be much more difficult for the government to plan for infrastructure or various services, particularly education services and welfare services. But if you have organic growth, then you can do the projection, or you can project easier. Which means, if you look at the other side of the table, the government expenses. then you will see which area will have an obvious gap because of the organic population growth.
Yeah, well, again, the organic growth can also come not only from new people coming in, like births, but it can also come from extending. The lives, reducing, kind of lowering the number of the deaths, and as you say, it makes it easier to plan. But when they do the planning, they might say, "Wow, we can see a real disaster coming." And the solution to that might be bringing in more younger people, right? And it might not mean bringing in 5-year-olds, because sometimes people say, "Oh, we need more babies." We don't actually need more babies. We need more workers to support the older people. So maybe we need to bring in young adults who can go to work right away.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting insight we have learned today.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I think if there's a gap, there might be a possibility that the financial secretary really have to think about to spend more money on the aging population.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he has to figure out a policy to bring in the workforce that you have just mentioned.
And that, and the General Chamber has identified that's going to be a big problem. So the shrinking of the workforce begins in 2020. Our workforce actually begins to shrink in 2020. We're going to need more people, but the unions are going to fight bringing in new workers. They're already on that case, and making the argument to the Hong Kong people that we need more people, whether it's from the mainland or anywhere else, could be politically contentious.
Okay, so we have an organic growth. Remember the term organic, which means we can do better planning. Well, stay safe for the typhoon.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Vincent.